Hello everyone and welcome to Cherries Red Army YouTube channel. I'm Kirk and this is our second video that we're going to talk about in the January transfer window. We're going to mop up all the ins and outs, and if you haven't seen the first video, check that out as well on the channel. But first, please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. I've recalled two guests from my previous show and let's get them in now. My first guest is Dan Juron.
How you doing?
Not too bad. And also Steve.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Fantastic. So before we start, we discussed the January transfer window sort of halfway through the month, and JT at the start of the window said that Bournemouth wouldn't be very busy, Steve. Didn't end up to be the case.
No, it's always a little bit of paper talk, isn't there? You know, you could always see some things happening. There was people making waves and have been for a little while. So I wasn't surprised to see, especially with the size of the squad we've got, and get players not getting game time. I wasn't surprised to see some moves, to be honest.
And I know I've spoken to you a few times, Dan, and you were quite happy, and I'm sure you're happy to see the back end of January, and we're now in February now.
Yeah, really happy to see the end of the transfer window. No more speculation, which is nice. Well, until the summer, but we can just focus on the season now. All the players are hopefully committed to promotion, and they got and we can hopefully get promotion. I mean, yeah, it was weird seeing, because obviously with the King situation, which we'll go on to later, you know, Tindall was like, we're not gonna, he's gonna stay, and the day later he leaves, you know, and then it wasn't gonna be a busy transfer window. But yeah, it was a bit of a Bournemouth show on the deadline day. Everything Bournemouth.
So we're going to have a bit of fun with this. We're going to go through all the ins and outs of the first team squad. We're going to talk about them. And then what we're going to try and do collectively is agree whether it's a good deal or a bad deal for the club between now and the end of the season and what we're trying to achieve. So let's jump into it. And our first player that left the club, which we won't talk too much about, was Mark Travers on loan to Swindon. Dan, your thoughts on that for Mark?
Yeah, I don't see I don't see how that's a bad deal at all. You know, just getting some game time. He wasn't starting. I do feel a little bit bad for him, because obviously I think that that game against Blackburn, that save, well, actually there wasn't a save there, but that mistake, I should say, probably hindered his confidence a little bit, which is unfortunate. But realistically, we've got a quality Premier League quality keeper that's getting in before him, and he's a good enough keeper to be getting game time elsewhere. So I'm glad that we've sent him on loan.
Steve, Mark Travers out on loan to Swindon?
Yeah, same as what Dan's just said. We were a bit sort of unsure who would get the #1 shirt, weren't we, at the beginning of the season? He got given the first chance, and like Dan said, he had that bit of a horror show against Blackburn. Begovic never made a mistake after that when he was given a chance. So, you know, he's too good to be sitting on the bench. So, and you know, go and get some experience and boost his confidence back up, and hopefully we get back a rejuvenated Travers.
And I think we know there's a good goalkeeper in there. He had an absolute blinder against Tottenham when he was sort of put in the team. But I think it will do a little bit of good for his confidence. So looking at Mark Travers and that loan, do we see that as a good deal or a bad deal for the club and the player, Dan?
Yeah, it's a good deal for sure.
Steve, good deal, bad deal?
Yeah, good deal for me.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Do you like that?
Deal or no deal?
Okay, so the next outgoing, and we'll concentrate on outgoings for the time being, was Namdi. And he has gone to Wycombe on loan. And it looks like the permanent transfer now has gone through on a pre-contract to Rangers in the summer for next season. Steve, what's your thoughts on Namdi?
Yeah, I'm quite upset about this one, to be quite honest with you. I really like Namdi, and I was hoping he'd get more of a game, more game time than he's had. But he's got some big names in front of him to try and dislodge. I think we were always saying he may be sort of shoehorned in somewhere in defence, maybe. But that doesn't seem to have happened for whatever reason. Jason doesn't want to, or doesn't trust him enough to give him a start or a game, or even sub appearances. So for him, it's a good move. But from my personal point of view, I think I'm a bit disappointed, because I think he's a good player there.
Not really knowing the truth, Dan, and I'm not sure if you know either, but could it potentially be something within the player that's just not going to fit the club?
Maybe. I mean, I think it was quite apparent that he was at least a little bit unsettled at the club. I think through a couple of his tweets or Instagrams, I think suggested that. I remember seeing something earlier at the beginning of the season. I don't know if it was related to that, but it could have been. And yeah, it was weird because it always seemed like, you know, he deserved the start or at least a sub appearance and never really got it. So maybe there was another reason. But yeah, sad to see him go. But if he's not going to get game time, you know, for him, it's an obvious choice to go. But I was surprised that he went on loan to Wickham. I thought he might stay and then go Rangers next season. But yeah, a little bit annoyed about that one. But what can you do, really?
He played very well at Man City. Then I don't think he got a game after that. So the reasons I don't know. The Wickham one, I think, was an easy one for him. He knows the manager and some of the players there from last season. He'll be able to get some football under his belt before he moves to Rangers. So, Steve, is this a good deal or a bad deal, though?
I think it's a bad deal. Not for him personally, because he's going to have to get some game time, but I think for the club, because I think unless he's a disruptive kind of guy, which I don't know, wouldn't know that, but he's definitely a decent player. So I don't know if we got a 50-50.
Maybe. I mean, Dan, there is a lot of midfielders in our team now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We've obviously brought in Wilshere and Pearson, so it's going to be hard for him to get some game time. I'd say it's more of a good. I'd say it's more of a good deal than a bad deal in some sense, because he wasn't going to get game time as much as he had the potential. Clearly he wasn't getting games. So was there a point in keeping him, paying his wages? Not sure. Was he unsettled? Maybe. Was he not fitting the club? Maybe. Was he causing disruption? We don't know. So I mean, I'm a little bit 50-50 with this one, but I'd say probably swing towards good deal, actually, in some sense.
So you're going to put this one on me, and not really knowing the ins and outs, and maybe we'll find out in time and when his career's ended, that was there something more behind the scenes. I don't really know. I'm gutted that we didn't get to see what sort of player was in there, but maybe for his career and his development, maybe it's going to turn out to be a good deal for him. I think we're all split on that one. I think it's 50-50. So another player who has always been a good player at our team, always put in the effort, always struggled to cement himself as a first teamer, is also going to Rangers. And originally it was going to be a pre-contract, but looks like it's a permanent deal. Dan, Jack Simpson went for yesterday.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't sure if he would leave. This was again was a bit of a 50-50 if he was going to leave before the end of the transfer window. But clearly he was keen from what he was saying. And, you know, he's, as I said in the previous video, he was never really quite there to be a consistent first teamer. And to pick up some money for him, I don't think it's a bad thing. He's getting on a little bit. Like, he's not considered like a young player anymore. So yeah, it's I think it's a good deal for both parties, I think.
Steve, he did do well when he came in, and we had one of our best spells, keeping about 5 clean sheets, and he was part of that.
Yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him when he didn't retain his place. But like Dan said, I think it's a good deal all round, really. He's never going to really cement a starting place every game, and he needs to progress his career. And I think a move away, and especially with someone, you know, up and coming good manager like Steven Gerrard, I mean, that can only do wonders for his confidence, you know, to even be wanted by him and a big team like Rangers. So good luck to him, I think.
And Dan, is this a good deal for the club? Because it looks like we actually got some money in the end. Yeah,
it's a good deal in my opinion.
Same, Steve?
Yeah, definitely a good deal, this one, for all parties.
Yeah, good lad. I'm actually, you know, I'm glad that he's probably going to go and find some football on a consistent basis. And I would agree with you too. It's a good deal. Now, this is an interesting one coming up. A player that decided that he rejected an offer from a championship club, decided he wanted to stay and fight for his place. Then an offer comes in for a team that's fighting for the same things that we're trying to achieve, and he goes to Watford. Dan Gosling. Steve, what did you think when this news came through?
My initial thought was, what on earth are we doing selling, giving a player like him to Watford or letting him go to Watford? But then on reflection, if he's been a stalwart for us, hasn't he? He's never, he's always been Mr. Bournemouth in a way. He's always worn his heart on his sleeve. He's always done a job for us. He's not the most gifted player in the world, but he'll put a shift in whenever you want him to. If he wasn't going to get the game time and he's coming to the end of his career, you kind of think, well, if he's got a bit of a payday there, let him go. But I was just a bit disappointed it was to Watford, to be honest.
That's where I was at, really, Dan. 3 days prior to that, JT, after the Reading game, said we need players that's going to put a shift in and put everything into it. And Dan Gosling's definitely one of them. It wasn't that we sold Dan Gosling because I understand the competition was there. It was who Dan Gosling went to. And for me, he turned down Forest. So although he's got 6 months left on his contract and he's maybe protecting his livelihood, he was willing to still sit on a short-term contract for that reason. So I think interest would have been there for Dan in the summer. There'll be plenty of clubs queuing up. I am a bit disappointed we sold him to Watford, but what do you think?
Yeah, I've always loved Dan Gosling because, as you said, he's not the most technically. Well, actually, you could argue he's not the most talented in the team, but he works so hard, and that's what I love about him. Because a player, you can be Premier League quality if you're not not giving it your all. It's pointless. And you want players that will put in a shift, give you 110% every single game. And Dan Gosling provided that when he plays, scored some really important goals over the years. And it was a bit of a weird one because, with what he was saying that he wanted to stay. And I saw a few people suggesting it might have been, that they couldn't afford his wages. Perhaps that was the truth. Who knows? But yeah, I did feel a bit bad for Gozza. I don't know if you saw any of the social media posts by Watford fans, apparently just according that the club was going in a terrible direction because of the signing of Dan Gosling. I thought it was a little bit harsh. But yeah, I wish him all the best, despite obviously going to Watford. I was quite surprised to see that. But yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 with that one.
Didn't do anything wrong when he played this season, I didn't think, Steve.
No, absolutely not. I mean, what was his last game? Coventry, and he scored 2, and had a great game. And then we didn't see him after that. And I know there's some more technically gifted players we have in midfield, but from a work rate point of view, you can't odds Gosling at all. And I thought he was really unlucky not to feature again for us. And maybe that was something behind the scenes that came to light. Maybe he wanted more game time. Went to the manager, and the manager said, I don't see it. So I mean, who knows? But disappointed.
Okay, so it might be a good deal for the player potentially on a 2.5-year contract, but was that a good deal for the club, Dan?
I think it's definitely not a good deal. And I'd probably lean towards bad deal thinking about it. He's a player that works hard and he cares about the club, and I think he represented everything Bournemouth. So I would say that it's probably a bad deal on reflection, actually. Good deal,
bad deal, Steve.
I think for him, it's probably. I don't know. From an on the pitch point of view, I think it's a bad deal. But if behind the scenes, if it and it gets him off the wage bill, I don't know what his wages are like, but he's obviously still on Premier League money. I would have thought probably good from a financial point of view for the club. And if he wasn't going to play, I'm leaning towards a good deal actually, but disappointed where he's gone. That's.
It's really hard to split because I think it's a good deal for him. We've got some money on a contract that was running down, but who he's gone to is not a good deal for me. So I think we're just going to have to split it. I can't see us going any other way. And a player now the last player that left the club last night, who's been looking like leaving the club for about 1.5 years now. It all seems to be an on and off deal, and that is Josh King. Got over the line. Everton got the deal. I think we made 5 million in the end. Steve, your thoughts on Josh King going to Everton?
Yeah, great for him. He's been wanting to go for. Let's be honest, he's been wanting to go and progress his career somewhere else for a few years. I mean, he's not done the weasel tactic, as it were, whereby he's come out and openly said that he'd like to move on. but he's still played for us and he's still put in good shifts for us. He's still putting effort for us. So I think he's quite well. He is quite. It's quite. It's great for him to go and get someone like Everton, work with someone like Ancelotti, and some of the players they've got now.
And like Steve says, he has huffed and puffed. You can't say he hasn't tried. The quality has not been there for me since January 2020. When that deal was confirmed, how did you feel about it, Dan?
I think initially and naturally a little bit gutted, because of he's been with the club for so long, and obviously our record Premier League goal scorer, so he's got some history there. But I think that, I'll always respect him because he didn't do a Ryan Fraser. When he wanted to go, he showed clubs why he should go. He always worked hard. Has he been on it like he had done? Has been in the previous years? This season, probably not. But he still works hard, and I think ultimately it's probably the right deal for Bournemouth, because his heart's not fully going to be with the club. I think when you know that you don't really want to be there, it's you don't have the same, even if you do maybe care about the club, you don't have that sort of same desire, commitment that you may do if you wanted to stay. So I think it's probably necessary, and we don't have that speculation now. I think hopefully all of these players are committed now that we've got right now.
And in the first show, Steve, me and Dan, I think, predicted that Josh would stay and that he would run down his contract, because I thought he'd have more offers on the table if he did that. He didn't. You said he would leave. He did. Is that a good deal? 5 million?
Well, it's 1-0 to me, isn't it? So, well, I mean, what did we pay for him? $1 million, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
5 years ago. So, it's a great deal. Financially, we've made 5 times our money. So yeah, and like I said, he's been making waves for a long time. I don't think he's been in that period, so that 18 months, 2 years. I don't really think he's been right at 100%. He's not been, like I say, a weasel, but he's not been 100%.
No. Good deal, bad deal, Dan?
Maybe would have liked a little bit more money, but I think it is probably a good deal. Yeah.
I think we could have had more, obviously, in previous windows, but we got 5 million when we probably would have got nothing. So happy to go with that. So we're going to move into the incomings of players that have come to help us. And before we move on to players, we had a change within the staff. Graham Jones left to go to Newcastle, and Jonathan Woodgate was confirmed as the replacement. And Dan, when you heard that, what did you think?
All happened a bit quick, didn't it? We had Jones for not even basically half a season, and there was this. I remember on some of the free for alls after the game, we were like questioning, is Jones having an effect? When we had a Luton fan on, they were suggesting there could be some link. The game after he leaves, the same thing, the same rubbish. Maybe that wasn't the case. I'm not going to lie, I don't know a lot about this new coach coming in, but I'm optimistic. He's come from Middlesbrough, I think, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, wish him the best. I can't say I know a lot about him, but if you do, leave it in the comments, I guess.
Steve, 4th defensive coach now we've got within that backroom staff. Jonathan Woodgate had a pretty good career, barring some major injuries. He had a coaching spell at Borough, which then took him to the managerial position, which he had 9 wins in 41 games. But Borough were the lowest goal scorers in the Championship in that season, and they didn't get relegated. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that he's probably a very good defensive coach then, but not so hot on the attacking, which is it's kind of, we need both at the moment, don't we? Because we're not great defensively, and we seem to have lost our attacking mojo as well. I don't know. You can make an argument that we've got too many defensive coaches, but then Eddie Howe was a defender as well, and we were, that was our most attacking football I've seen for a long time. So I think, he hasn't. I don't really know too much about him as in the coaching role. Give him a chance, like we did with Jones. See what he's about. I mean, see if it gives us an upturn in fortune.
But if you're looking on the training ground, and Dan, put yourself in a player's position now, and potentially put yourself in Dan Juma or Brooks or Solanke, and you're looking at the staff in front of you that are trying to improve your game and take you to the next level. I mean, is there potentially not enough attacking sort of experience there. There's Steve Fletcher, but that's my angle I'm coming at. Do you see that?
Yeah, no, I completely see that. Yeah, I think that. Well, I mean, Steve Fletcher, obviously a club legend, and he's going to give that attacking experience. But yeah, we've been with Bournemouth been struggling to score goals. We've been struggling to create. We look lackluster going forwards. Do we need another defensive coach? I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to say on when we haven't seen anything to judge it off. But as I said, I'm going to give him a chance, like I do with everyone that comes to the club. But yeah, no, it's a valid argument. When we are struggling for goals, why are we bringing in a defensive coach? But it's hard to say when we haven't seen anything, as I said.
We're being hard to judge then. Are we all in agreement that probably 50-50 is the way to go for this and just see how it plays out?
Yeah.
So we've got to talk our first incoming, which was the return of Mr. Wilshere. He's now had a few games under his belt. And Steve, are you liking what you're seeing already?
Absolutely. Like we said before, I think we said in the previous show, it's no coincidence we had our best period with him in the team before, and fingers crossed that's what he brings us again. I just want to see the old Jack. He's got plenty of football left in him. He's not past it whatsoever. He just needs to get up to speed as quickly as we can get him up to speed. He can float past players. He can make the game look so easy. He can link up. And that's what we've been crying out for. I think the last few games, we've had such a big gap between our midfield and our strike force. And hopefully JT sees that as the position for Jack. And yeah, magic boots he's got. So let's see him.
And getting a player like Jack Wilshere back to the club, Dan, we've really got to make sure we make use of him, and JT gets him in areas that can hurt teams. Yeah,
Wilshere oozes quality. Every time you see him on the ball, it's just he's got that Premier League quality. And the way he can just drive with the ball, where he can create space, the passes. He was so crucial for us in that in our best season in the Premier League. And I think for me, it's the way that we've been playing and we've been struggling recently is that flow from defence to midfield to attack, that quick transition, and that midfield has been so crucial. And when you have Jack Wilshere there, that as alongside Lewis Cook or Lerma or Billing, I know Steve, you don't really like Billing, but the fraud. But yeah, he's going to be so good, I think, alongside Lewis Cook especially, and obviously our new signing. Pearson. I think I'm going to be really interested to see that. What we play each game, and because I hope we play that 3 centre midfielders. I think that's our best. How we score. Well, how we're the most threatening to teams is that because we have that fast transition to defence to midfield to attack. So yeah, really excited to see him in the team again.
This might be the most ridiculous question I've asked this week, but was that a good deal for the club, Steve?
Well, of course it was. Stupid question.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And Dan, you just mentioned it, a player we brought in, didn't quite see it coming, a deal that actually happened quite quickly again. But I am excited about this one, and I think he will bring aggression. I think we've lost that. I think a player like Lerma's lost that for whatever reason. A bit of bite, a bit of passion, and Ben Pearson has joined us.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for this. I think I was speaking to a mate of mine who's a Newcastle fan, and obviously when they were in the Championship, I think it's so crucial to get, you can have Premier League talent, but players that have been in this division for a while and have experience in this division know how physically demanding it is. And by what I've heard of him, he's a real physical player. He does everything he can to protect that back line, which I think is exactly what we need. We need someone with that sort of bite in midfield, because I feel like Lerma's been a little bit off it in that sense this season. Obviously, he's still got that quality, but having maybe him playing alongside Lerma would be interesting. Or if we're going to play him alongside 2 maybe sort of free midfielders like Cook and Wilshere. But yeah, having him in that sort of number 6 role, I think is going to be really, really good for this team. And obviously, his experience is going to be crucial for us going up.
Had a really good game earlier on in the season, Steve, against us, where Preston beat us 3-2. And when the Preston fans heard that he was leaving, they wished him all the best. I mean, that's got to tell you something about a player.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I don't recall him too much from that game. I think I was just sort of a bit angry at our performance that day. But yeah, like Dan said, he's got a reputation as being a very tenacious player, very aggressive player. He's obviously well regarded by Preston fans because they, like you say, they wished him well. I don't know if I want to see him play with Lerma because I'd like to see us not be playing with 9 players potentially if he got like that. But I think, I think he could be rotated with Lerma because Lerma looks as though he could do with a bit of a break. I think he's had a lot of game time. He's been on and off to international duty at times. Maybe he just needs a bit of a someone to take the responsibility away from him for a bit.
I'm excited about this one. I chuck him straight in, wouldn't hang about. I don't think it'll bother him. So, Dan, good deal? Bad deal for the club?
I think this is, alongside Jack Wilshere, I think this is our best signing this window.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. What did he cost us again, or do we not know?
I think he cost about 250,000 is what I read because his contract was running down. And if that is an absolute, that's a good job.
Good deal then, yeah.
I think we're all crawling out for a striker, all the fans. I think we're lacking that player that's going to score 1 and 2 consistently. When Josh King decided to go to Everton, there was no way we were not going to do any other business or try and replace him. And we did. It went down to the wire, I believe. The paperwork got in time. And Steve, Shane Long is an AFC Bournemouth player.
Yeah.
Has he solved the problem?
No, of course he hasn't. Well, there's attributes to his game. We all know he's a hard-working runner. He'll press teams if he's allowed to press teams. He'll be a nuisance, and he might give you those scrappy goals that you've been longing for, Kirk. Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's 34. He's scored. I think he scored something like 8 goals in 3 seasons or something at Saints. It's not particularly going to solve our problem, is it?
Yeah, I think he is 34. He's only ever scored more than 10 goals in a season twice in his whole career. One was with Reading in the Championship. Very, very much like Josh King, in my opinion, Dan.
Yeah, no, it was. I actually thought he was a bit younger than that. When I saw, I had a look at because I thought he was about 30. I didn't think he was that old. But yeah, it was obviously with Josh King departing, we needed to bring someone in, and I think that you look at the positives here. You've got a player with 10 years of experience in the Premier League, over 300 appearances in the Premier League. He works very hard, which is a massive positive. Admittedly, as I said on the previous episode, I would have liked to bring in a physical target man type striker to give us another option. That obviously hasn't happened. But with the departure of Josh King, getting anyone in, and as I said, I think he's, quite a similar player. He'll work hard for the team. And yeah, having that experience in the Premier League and giving, will be beneficial to our youngsters as well. But yeah, I'm actually really excited to see what he can do. As I said, I don't think it will solve all of our problems, but it's a good replacement, in my opinion, on loan for Josh King for what we could have got in January.
Struggled to score goals in the last 6 and 7 games, Steve. And one of those players that's lacking a bit of confidence is Solanke. I think he's looked very isolated recently. And I think he needs someone up with him. Is Shane Long that? I mean, Shane Long will run the channels. And if he does create a bit of space for Solanke, Solanke's got the ability to assist and score.
Yes, but personally, this is my opinion. I'd rather see Dan Juma alongside Solanke than Shane Long. And if we're going to play him in a 2 and he's going to create a space for Solanke, it could work. I just don't know. I really don't know with this one. I just think he's well past his best. And and his best was never really that prolific anyway. Sorry to be a bit of a downer, but that's just a personal opinion on that one.
And does this change any situation for Sam Surridge, Dan?
I was literally about to mention that. Yeah, I really feel bad for Sam because when he has played, he's looked really good in terms of, I always ask as a fan that you work hard, and he works so hard. And I feel like it's unfair that he hasn't got more starts than he's got this season. And I think it'd be interesting to see us play with, 2 strikers with the 3 behind again. So if that's with either Dom and Danjuma, Dom and Long, Long and Surridge. But yeah, it's a weird situation. You've got to be thinking of Surridge, what more can I do? I was a man of the match when I played last. I've worked my socks off. What more can I do? Like it feels like ever since he had that man of the match performance, you're thinking, oh, maybe he might get a couple more starts. He's sort of gone back to not really, not even coming on as a sub a lot of the time. So it's a bit confusing one for the fans because I really do like Surridge.
It's kind of the same with all the youngsters, though, isn't it? None have really been given a chance.
But it's weird because with Jason saying he wants to bring in good characters, and I think whether that means that some of the characters that we have at the moment aren't right. Obviously you can't change a whole squad, especially in January. It'll be I don't. It's hard because as a man, especially as a young manager, it's very hard to say, oh, let's put out a load of youngsters. Every game in the Championship is a difficult game. There is no easy game. So it's a very bold statement, but you would have thought he might, Zamora, for example, I think I mentioned in the previous episode, I think it's been quality. Surridge, I think, deserves more game time. I would have said Ofoborh if he would have stayed, but obviously that's not the case. But I think just starting some of these youngsters that we've seen and looked, had shown glimpses of desire, I think would be really good. I'd like to see them start a lot more, but unfortunately, I can't really see it happening.
No. Shane Long, I'm going to sit on the fence. I don't think he's the answer. He's not solved the problem, but I'm going to go 50-50. Steve?
I don't like it personally.
Dan?
I actually am a bit more optimistic. I'm quite looking forward to see what he could do. I'd actually consider this more of a good deal, but I guess this is now going to go 50-50.
It's now going to go full circle back to 50-50.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with us? Were they good deals? Were they bad deals? We'd love to know. Now, we can't not finish the show without talking about our manager, and we'll come on to him a little bit more in detail. But just looking at this transfer window, has it been a successful transfer window for Jason Tindall? Dan?
I would say yes. I think there's been more positives than negatives. We've got King's departed, who, as I said, is his head. He wants to leave the club, so that's sorted. You don't have to think about that anymore. We've brought in Pearson and we brought in Wilshere, which I think are 2 massive signings. I think those are going to be really good for us this season. Quality depth in midfield, and players that work hard. Obviously with Long, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. With Ofoborh and Simpson leaving, Ofoborh obviously we were a little bit more gutted, but he wasn't getting any game time. I think overall, when you look at it, especially when you look at the start of the window where apparently we weren't going to do barely any business, you look at now when we brought in some quality players. I'd say overall it has some negatives within it, but I think overall it is positive because if he has removed some of the bad characters that he was referring to, or if that he was suggesting, I'd say overall, if it brings a better morale to the club, if it brings more determination, I think, well, we'll have to see. But I think looking at it, I think that it's a good transfer window, but we'll have to wait and see.
And Steve, you've mentioned before that some parts of the squad looks a bit bloated. Good window?
Interesting at points. So, you could make an argument to say, did we need any more midfielders after Wilshere came in? Not to say I'm not excited by Pearson, but there was a case that we needed. People say we needed a left back. People say we needed a striker. I know we got Long, but I was hoping for a bit more than Long. I think if it's balanced, if it's helped balance the books and got some wages off some Premier League wages out the door, then from a club's point of view, it could be good financially. Depends on what we're paying the likes of Wilshere and Long to come down here for the periods they're here. Pearson seems like a no-brainer, good deal.
That's the best signing, I think,
yeah.
of the window, even more than Wilshere, I'd maybe say, because of that Championship experience. And I think he was, what Preston fans would say, he was the best player for them. So, yeah.
And I think letting the other young lads, branch out and get some game time, that's probably done them a favour as much as it's done us a favour, because they weren't getting the game time and they could have been causing, making waves. We don't know.
With the transfer window now closed and we don't have to worry about it, February, we're in it and we need to start hitting some form. We need to go on a run. We need to cement the playoffs as a minimum, but we want to try and achieve more if it's possible. Now, Jason Tindall seems to be splitting the fans at the moment. I'm in the camp that he wasn't my man at the start. It's not who I would have gone for. I don't think he had the CV to do the job, in my opinion. But when the club decided to go for that option, he needs to see out the season, no matter what happens, whether we're in the Championship or not. Dan, where are you at the moment with Jason Tindall?
Yeah, it's one that's dividing a lot of the fan base at the moment. I think it's because this is such an important season, because I'm not that fan that's just, we have a few bad results, he's got to leave. It's just a horrible mentality to have, I think, that as soon as we have any kind of slump, it's instantly the manager's gone. It's just that, because, and I think especially in this squad, it was a lot of the characters in our team, weren't committed. The players, just the basics were not there, to start with, before any tactics. And now there's no speculation about players leaving. We've gone past January. I think you've got to assess, come March, how we're performing. And ultimately, it doesn't come down to us. It comes down to the board and what they want. And I'd say I'm not Jason Tindall out. But at the same time, I'm still, obviously I'm JTM at the moment. I'll always back him. I'm not going to be on his back, but if we come March and we see this run continue, it's going to be very hard to say, is he the right man for the job? Because of, this is such an important season, and would it be worth taking the gamble? I don't know. It's a bit of a 50-50. Again, it's not our decision, but we'll see what happens, what the board are thinking. Because he is a Bournemouth man. We forget that. He loves the club. You find it hard to find managers that truly care about the club. So he's a bit split.
Steve, would you stick by him? And more importantly, will the club stick by him?
I would stick with him, and I've said this before. We all wanted him to do well at the beginning of the season, but we got to remember that he came into a bit of a massive transitional period for us, getting relegated, losing Eddie. It was never going to be an easy job. Having said that, I think he's made some very naive decisions at times. Showed it tactically. I think he's been a bit not very full of the house, really. How motivational is he? He doesn't seem to motivate the players, or hasn't been of late. And I do fear for him. I think if he doesn't turn it around in the next few games, like Dan said, I think the club might bite the bullet and say, enough's enough, Jason. We want to be back in the Premier League, and you're simply not cutting the mustard. So difficult one. I don't know if I'd give him to the end of the season, but I'd certainly give him a few games, see if he can turn the boat around.
All right then, Dan, your gut feeling, do you feel like we'll start to put everything back together again this month?
I think it's gonna be one or the other. I don't think we're gonna see a sort of I think it's either gonna be we're gonna hit the ground running, we're gonna start picking up some performances now, we're gonna blow some teams away. Obviously we got a game today against Wednesday, which is going to be interesting to see, a team that's right down at the bottom. This could either be about 5-0 or we could lose another 1-0. So I think it's going to be a bit 50-50. I'm going to stay optimistic, and I think he's going to turn it around. I hope he does, and I'm going to stay with that optimistic mindset until they give me a reason not to. So yeah, I'm going to say we will turn it around.
How are you feeling about this month, Steve? I think we need to pick up some serious points.
Well, there's potential, isn't there? I mean, I know we said this during January and we didn't pick up a lot of points of the teams we played, but you look at those teams we've got to play in February and they're very winnable games, you know, bar Watford. I hope so. Fingers crossed. I think there's new breath into the team. There's new life into the team in some of these players. They might have built, you know, who knows? Their characters might, you know, spark the rest of the lads. Yeah, interesting, but it needs to start tonight, I feel.
Yeah.
Interesting conversations, different points of view as well, and opinions, which is really good. And again, let us know what you think, and open our comment to anyone who wants to let me know what they think about this window. Dan, as always, thank you for joining me.
Cheers, Kurt. Appreciate you having me on.
See you soon. Steve, cheers. Always good to see you.
No worries, mate. See you soon. Bye.
For those players that have left the club, and we thank you, especially in our recent history, for everything you've done for us, especially in the Premier League years. We wish you all the best. For the players that have come in, there's not really time to bed in. You've got to hit the ground running. We need you more than ever, and we need to pick up some serious points. Please make sure you like and keep subscribing. We really appreciate all your support. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Until the next one, up the cherries.